Hyde wrote this wonderful play as well as performing it. Oliver Maynard, you obviously saw these two on stage. And then I've got, I'm pronouncing it right, Jef
Hall-Flavin.
Hall-Flavin, okay. Jef Hall-Flavin, who directed and designed the production. So. Now, also, you guys obviously know the play and the production much better than I do, so if you think that we are missing anything, just steer us in the right direction, okay? Nick, for obvious reasons, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Where did you start? What is the starting point for Double Act?
So it started off as it was a one-person solo show for 30 minutes long, and it was a part of my masters. You had to do to create a performance piece in 30 minutes that had a sort of academic priorities.
And Robbie Nestor, producer.
Yes.
Bringing the drinks, that is a producer.
That's why we pay him. And yeah, it was a very weird, sort of surreal, like physically driven thing. It was very weird. It had lots of different characters and there were elements that were similar. It was more sort of thematically similar than narratively similar. And then from there, I did one performance of that outside of where I did my masters. I wasn't happy with it, and so I started from the ground up. Took all the research that I've done, threw all of that work away basically, and started again. Many drafts later, wrote it with two people in mind and had the sort of rhythm elements, and yeah, I wrote it with Ollie in mind, which is so thank God he said yes.
Wow.
So it was about 3 years in the making?
Yeah, about.
Well, before we get to how flattered Ollie must be to have that piece written with him in mind, but because I could see it working as a monologue, but it's so brilliant as a two-hander. So what inspired that to bring, not just an inner voice, but an inner dialogue, really?
I think on stage, it's quite hard to express that sort of inner conflict. You can have, it's all in the subtext, really, isn't it? If you have someone who's being pulled in two directions, the actor can bring it out, but the writer is sort of not able to do that. So to have that person split into two just made it very easy to have that conflict staged. And it was also just a bit more fun. I think as a one-man show, it would work, but having two, and you can have the differences between the two, and you can have the fighting, and you can be meaner to someone else than you can to yourself, in a way.
And why did you have Ollie in mind?
We worked together. We did. We did a class together, and we always had good chemistry. Did a few scenes together, and I thought it would be a good foil.
Okay, and Ollie, to have a part written for you.
God, yeah, I know. I mean,
get your head out your arms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, it was amazing, and I felt I was so honoured and flattered, and I couldn't really believe it, but it was an instant yes. It was obviously a yes, and it was just lovely. It was so lovely, and I'd seen his one-man version of it, and to see where it's come from and what he did, as he said, it's thematically similar but narratively very different. It was, and I loved it in its first incarnation, but this, obviously, I love it now, especially I'm doing it. It was just brilliant, and I think we've known each other for a little while now, and just. The chemistry is...
There's an incredible rapport, really.
Only on stage.
On stage. Yeah, I can see it. On stage you hate each other. That's so obvious. Jef, where did you get involved with this journey of Double Act?
Nick asked me.
And how long ago was that in this 3-year journey?
I worked with him from the beginning and helped him develop that very first incarnation, and really thought there was something there. And then, a year and a half ago? He said, well, I have this new draft of it. Because I agree that the one person showing didn't unleash its potential.
I put the fear of God in you by saying, I put some of it in verse.
Yeah.
He said, oh, fuck.
Yeah, completely changed, thrown out all the things you like about it, which was the clowning. I really thought the grotesqueness of it was what I was interested in. And he said, well, I've gotten rid of all of that, and some of it's in verse. And I was like, oh God, do I have to read this? And I did, and by page 11, I had said yes in my heart, because it's just so well written. And don't let this go to your head. But he was very smart guy.
This is your first full-length play.
First one.
Amazing.
Thank you.
But and the verse, it's very subtle in hearing it in performance. How many of you realised that some of it was verse? You did, but maybe because it seemed so natural and on the page, it's beautiful. You must get it published. Are you going to publish it?
Oh, yeah, I'd love it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And so tell us then about the other elements. How much of it is determined by the script, and how much are directorial choices, like the clowning? Tell us what the tradition is with the makeup and the costume. What theatrical tradition is that drawn?
Well, the original title of this piece was Pierrot Kills Himself. Catchy, I know. Yeah, right. Like, who knows who the hell Pierrot is, right? But there is a long tradition of clowning, and that's the French tradition, not the Italian. But to not bore you with theater history, what the clowning does is it allows a framework for something that's not quite realistic, and because the play is multi-rolling and has this sort of conceit that's really hard to describe. It's one character, but more than one person playing the same character. That's not usual. Usually it's, we're used to multi-rolling, but having one character played by two people, I thought, let's keep the clowning as much as we can. Also, you need transitions. Dramaturgically, I think you need a little break. And also, there are masculinities that we're trying to explore, and I think this allows us to perhaps push it just beyond reality, so that we are discussing ideas as opposed to just ordinary people.
Yes. And in terms of the framework, I was really moved too at the point where you're removing the makeup. Like, we're all wearing this makeup, these different faces that we just gently remove from our real selves, is what it seemed to say to me.
Yeah, I will admit that's my idea. But it's when you're directing something, you think, okay, how do we get from here to there? And we needed a moment, we needed something. What he's contemplating doing is jumping off a cliff, and in order to do that, it takes resolve, and it's a huge decision. And so we needed some time on stage, and I thought, originally I was going to have one of you sing a ballad. Right?
Yeah.
So the first idea, we needed music. We needed something that we hadn't seen yet. But this is much better, because there's the meta-theatrics of there are actors in front of an audience, and they're removing any barriers between them, and they're becoming themselves. So there's a becomingness that I wanted to exploit in the taking off of the makeup.
Yes, it was beautifully done. Okay, you warmed up? You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Come on!
Yeah,
No pressure.
I really loved the show. I thought it was incredible. I want to ask a question about the use of the microphones, and whether that was
Very good.
something that was written in the script, or if they came up with the process. When did you decide? Well, sometimes they're going to be using the microphones, and what was the person deciding when they're going to use them and when they're not going to use them? And yeah, so I'm interested in that.
I'm going to argue that it was written into the script, but not as microphones. When you look at the text, there are things that are in italics, and there are things that are in regular typeface. And so my dissertation, my master's, was in text and meaning, and I was like, okay, what does this mean? What is the fact that this series of lines is in italics? How are we going to do that? And so for me, it is in the text. It's just I interpreted that as when they're speaking to themselves, or when they're in their heads, they're on the mic. And that allows us to do a couple of things. When they are off the mic, they're having a private argument. You get to hear it, but they're having a private argument as opposed to a more public argument. So it allows us to be both in the theater and in their minds at the same time, and pivot back and forth really easily. So it's just a framework to get inside what he wrote, which was bonkers.
But the auditory effect also means that there's kind of a greater intimacy with the microphone, and you know.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
We've so that was one of the first things you said to me after reading it was I see two microphones, and I thought that really works, and just also the aesthetic of having that and getting tangled up in wires, and we used sort of AI to generate concept art, and it just looked really cool. And then when we were playing with them, we got to a point where we sort of hit a wall with it. We had stuck quite rigidly to the text divisions of sort of italicized and unitalicized, and it just, there was something lacking. And as recently as last week, I think it was, we decided that we would just refine the separation between when we're on mic and off mic. So the bits where we're sort of stepping back and having an argument, refocusing and getting back to the task at hand. So that was a very recent discovery in rehearsal. But long journey with the mics.
Also on the page, I think this is why we need the play text published. I think it'd be interesting, but you have two sides of the same character. But is it determined who says which line? Do you ever swap lines? And also the multi-rolling, like who gets to play which character?
When I wrote it, I had initially very little separation between the two characters. I knew that there were different facets of that person, and I didn't necessarily assign them to be like 1 and 2. 1 is like this and 2 is like that. But as we were reading it, the first couple of read-throughs, we realised that actually that should be more defined. So we sort of split lines that went in a certain direction with one character and the other with the other, and it sort of ended up this kind of schedule-focused, time-obsessed, left brain, is it left brain? Logical brain, whatever. Fascist brain. And then the sort of more creative, whimsical, impulse-driven side of the brain as well, who knows they're going to get there, and knows that he can do whatever the fuck he wants because he's going to end up at that cliff at that time.
But every time they run through, one of them takes each other's line.
I was going to say, Ollie, you're not going to fight for some of the lines.
No, I know. No, sometimes, I mean, I suppose because we know it so well. There are moments where just suddenly, not in a self. Oh, I'm going to take this line now because I want to. It just happens.
I stole a couple of your lines. So
no, you did. I mean, almost. But I suppose the beauty of it is we just sort of allow that to happen and we lean into it and. It's not, that isn't wrong, that happening. If it happens, it happens, and yes, there are sort of, there's a fairly clear distinction between my perspective and Nick's perspective, but if there's, there is literally overlap, and if there is, we just go with it.
I could imagine a longer run where you, like, every night you flip a coin side to decide who plays. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I think I wrote
it. And because then also, it encourages audiences to come back.
But I will say that the text is very malleable because of this, and I was asked to direct I teach at Norwich University of the Arts, and I was asked to direct a play, and because I was working on this, I said, well, can we do this?
Yeah.
And they said yes, but how are you going to do that with 23 people? So I adapted it for a cohort of 11 in the morning and 13 in the morning and 11 in the afternoon, and we did the two halves of the play with two different cohorts of students, and it worked.
I love
just
that.
as
And
well.
you've got
very well.
some of those students here tonight. Give us a wave, students. Yay, well done. So you were like reading along at certain points.
It was really surreal. It was really good.
Yeah, very good. And how does that make you feel, Nick, as the writer of the piece, knowing that it could be like a community schools production? It could
Mad.
Be, yeah.
Bonkers. When you sent me a message saying I'd like to do this, I was like, wow. Are you sure?
Have you seen it?
Yes, I saw them. Yes, I saw them
Were they
in
rubbish?
rehearsal.
Really good. If you can imagine 13 people beeping there at the Sainsbury's moment, it was quite mad.
It became a completely different beast as well, which was so fun to see, and I was surprised. And I sat there in the rehearsal sort of halfway through that process, and to be surprised by a text that you know so well, this is really, lovely.
Exciting. Okay, other hands. Let's go to the second row, and then we'll come back to the first. Yeah.
Part of the beauty of the piece is the balance between the tragic journey that this character is on and and then also it's very funny.
It's very funny.
So how, in the writing of it and in the rehearsing of it, how do you make sure you keep that balance just right so it doesn't tip in either?
It is one of the most worrying things, I think, writing this, was that you can get it so tonally wrong. You can either make it too earnest, and it can be, we're all on this very solemn journey, we know what's going to happen, and we all need to be silent throughout, or you can make it too funny, and suddenly it means nothing. And there's also the risk of, if you're ricocheting back and forth too much, then no one knows where they are. I enjoy that to an extent, because I think you should feel a little bit uncomfortable watching, and you shouldn't know whether you're allowed to laugh or not. But we still get surprised doing, it's the second night, and particularly like yesterday, we had laughs in really strange places where we'd never had laughs before. We thought, are we doing it right? Yeah.
I only laugh at certain things. The rehearsal, so they're not used to it.
What do you think, Ollie?
Yeah, just on that as well. We started to realise. I mean, all plays obviously need an audience, but there was something about this particularly that it didn't feel, right until like last night, until it had an audience in front of it. They are as much a part of the play as we are, and
in some cases, quite literally.
Well, literally, yeah, and that's huge because because there is this conflict, and we're sort of trying to, I have my perspective, and I want almost to get you onto my side, and Nick has his perspective. No, I'm, it's this to and fro with the audience, which has been so interesting and so informative. Yeah, just like bits that I didn't think, I never thought of that moment as,
Wonderful. Front row.
Yeah, so it's a play with obviously a lot of multi-rolling in the actual performance of it, but also in terms of writer, performer, and director and designer. And how did you find sort of splitting those roles? And was there I mean, it's not a good noise. But I don't know how.
For me, yesterday was the first time performing my own writing. I did this 30-minute solo show that this is sort of the progeny of, but that was not. It was so physical and weird that I climbed out of the box in my boxers at the beginning of the show, and then did like a strongman route. There was all sorts of shit.
The gold lame
Pants.
were
Yeah.
Oh, those were great.
Yeah. We were sad to
We
lose
missed
those.
the gold lame.
But then, performing it was the most nervous I've ever been in front of an audience, going on yesterday. It's a new level of terror, because you're not only being judged on your performance, but you're being judged on your words as well. And one of the things I enjoy most about acting is that you always have the safety net of it not being you. But when you write it, that's gone.
Were you asking about choices of who plays which character, or
no? As in like the splitting of the roles in terms of, for example, you as a director and you as a designer, and how those different things happen. And obviously, it's very valuable as a director to have somebody else to talk to in the room as a designer. But how is that when you're doing both of those things at the same time? How does that kind of go around in your head?
I tend to come from the school of collaboration, where I'm working on a new play. It is the brainchild of a playwright who deserves to have a say in every decision that's made. If this were, Shakespeare or something else, if it were Tennessee Williams, who's dead, I might not ask them. But every decision, design-wise, I ran by Nick, because I feel like, he had to have a say in it. So when I say that I designed it, we did. And in some cases, it was a group discussion. How would this work? How would that work? Even down to the trousers that they're wearing, the makeup,
So the making of burgers, which is
Oh my God.
a labour of love.
You made the
There are
burgers?
there's some in the back that we just
Not the
made.
actual burgers,
yeah.
the
The burger
fake,
boxes.
fake burgers.
In order to get them in order to do all the tricks we do with them, they have to have heft. They have to have heft, yeah. And what is it? It's like a sort of
Expanding
expanding foam. Yeah. So they're all full of
Tasty,
Yeah,
tasty.
yeah. It's not
Was
McDonald's.
was
no.
that a big part of your research, like the McDonald's menu?
Oh my God.
You know a lot about the
Yeah,
McDonald's
I've been
menu.
researching that for my whole life.
So it was very collaborative, and I don't mind making props. I don't mind, buying costumes, whatever. But there is also, it's a very small budget as well. So luckily I know how to design lights. Luckily I know how to launder clothes and things.
Nick, did Jef make any decisions that surprised you, that made you see the material in maybe a fresh way that you hadn't considered before?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
No, throughout. I'm very lucky in that when Jef first read it, he got it straight away. And having been on that journey through its first form to this, he's been the best champion of this work, honestly, because no decision has terrified me, but it has always made me think. And that's the best you can ever hope for.
And how long did you as a company have to rehearse?
We started in June.
Oh, quite a long
the first
time.
read through, and met every week while I was out of the country over Zoom, and then booked rehearsal rooms, and I would be on the computer screen.
Yeah.
So a lot of the clowning came from those early rehearsals and just getting used to each other's bodies and the text. So that by the time we got to, I think it was September, we had an intense rehearsal period through October and into November. Took a bit of a break over the holidays, and now we're here.
And did you make any changes to the script during that process?
Yeah. Even between the time that Norwich performed it and now, we've made some edits.
Yeah, wonderful.
But we've had feedback from our wonderful charity partners as well, who have helped us so much, and we've it's been invaluable to have those conversations and because it's informed it and it shaped it, because it's given perspectives that we didn't have.
Well, this was on my list of questions, so before I come to the next audience one, tell me about that. Who are your charity partners and why are they important?
Oh God, I mean, I can pass this out if you're happy to say, but Body and Soul, I would say they're do you want to say? Yeah, do you want to say like a...
Body and Soul charity.
And what does Body and Soul do?
Rachel.
Let's go. So we are a charity. We're based in London. We run a multitude of programs, but the one that I know you came and found out a little bit about is called You Are Not Alone, which is for young people between the ages of 16 and 35 who have attempted suicide in the last 12 months, and we provide intensive 6 months of therapeutic group work, and then longer term support, kind of really looking at that way of working long term rather than that short, sharp intervention, which doesn't really help. It actually just sends people back into healthcare systems, and actually what we prioritise is community and connection, and building a life worth living rather than just surviving for the short term.
And how did you feel seeing this dramatisation? How does that help your work?
How does it help?
Well, what did you think? What did you think watching it? First of all, just.
Terrible.
I think it's like, I come from actually a theatre background, so it's interesting for me to see both sides. And I was interested in the idea of how many people actually knew what was happening before it was happening. And I think that's a reflection sometimes of like what happens in the real world, is that we pass by people every day and don't really know what's going on in their lives until you take the time to be with and be in the messiness of what their life might entail. And I think that's something that we do. So I can see that, like we get in and we're like, yeah, let's be in this shit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know.
Yeah. I noticed that too. Like that. Yeah. I even noticed like things like we lose some human interaction, don't we? Like with the self-serve till and the apps and everything. We're losing day-to-day human interaction, and then, as she's saying, like some people that you're passing that realize. But I was also really struck and moved by the kindness of strangers in the script on the train. And
I love that's my. I love that scene.
That's my favourite scene.
Just because the energy of the play really shifts, I think, at that point as well, and it's just a real moment of calm and peace, and it's just two people, two strangers meeting, and I have to go pick up the gratitude journal after that, and it is just like, what a lovely thing that she has done.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, and really beautifully portrayed those strangers.
Our other charity partner as well is
Oh,
Trinity
sorry.
Homeless Projects, who
Where's
are
that?
on. Yeah, we've got a couple in.
Yeah. What do you do, Trinity?
So we're a homelessness and housing charity in West London, and whilst it's not sort of directly linked to the subject matter, what we do find is a lot of our residents experience sort of mental ill health, but also circumstances that lead them to sort of live in this way within themselves, where they feel like maybe they experience that urban isolation, which I think that's quite a lot to say.
London, terrible place.
Yeah.
Terrible place. Yeah, well done everyone. But I think it's moving to watch this really, because the work that we do is coaching our residents to kind of build this life again, like body and soul saying, and we want to be the person on the cliff who is the reason somebody steps back, but actually I think we need to find quiet ways to be the woman on the train instead.
The woman on the train.
And the other charity that we've spoken with, we had a really informative interview with a great charity called Beachy Head Chaplaincy Trust, a team, not trust, and they send patrols across Beachy Head, so they deal with this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
One of the Norwich students and I had a chat with Gus there, who was late to the meeting because he just had a call out to deal with something like this.
Yeah.
And there's this thing about Beachy Head being a bit of a cliche in terms of media, because it is, Beachy Head, the suicide spot, but it is still the suicide spot. It's still, I think it was 5,000 people last year, I think. I might get that wrong, but it's still happening, and because it's become a cliche, art is not really talking about it, so it continues.
Did you visit the spot?
I went. I have been to Eastbourne, and I went to and it's beautiful. I mean, as Nick has written, it's all yellow signs, the yellow fences, the signs. It's all it's in the pub, and
I've been too, and it's beautiful, as you say, but it is shocking how few guardrails there are. Well, they're not guardrails. They're just Darren.
What are you each most proud of about production?
What are you most proud of with this production, Jef?
My sister killed herself, and if you haven't been personally affected by suicide, you know someone who does, or who has been, because it's the most prominent cause of death, the most common cause of death for men, basically just younger than me, in this country. So you know someone who's been affected by it. So I'm proud to have found a way to use my talents, my gifts, my art, my craft in telling a story that means something to me personally.
Thank you. Ollie.
I just feel proud to be in it. I feel a tremendous responsibility to do justice to Nick's words, his ideas, and the subject matter, I welcome that, I've never done anything like it before, and it's just been proud to be in it. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Nick.
Getting it on, doing it. If you'd asked me 5 years ago whether you thought I thought I'd be performing my own writing, I would have said fuck off. Because I was petrified with fear about being judged, and I'm just doubting whether I had anything interesting to say, basically. So the fact that I've written something and performed it and I don't think it's shit, I'm proud of that.
Definitely not. It's really wonderful, and it absolutely must have a future life, Robbie. So what are the plans? What happens next? Because you're here only until Saturday. What
Yes.
then?
Yes. So all the rich producers in the audience see Robbie later.
I mean, it would be a wonderful show to tour, wouldn't it? It would
I actually I've been thinking since about the time I saw it in Norwich in December. Wouldn't it be great if this could go all around the UK?
Yeah.
Because it's very tourable. We just need white linoleum and
Yeah.
Some costumes
And you've got two great
Yeah.
performers, obviously a very talented director and designer, but you, my friend, must write more. Are you writing more plays?
Not yet.
I just wonder if are there any questions from the people who performed this play?
Yes, let's hear from
I wanted
Yeah,
to
go on then.
ask, why did you cut the line about Henry's son? What was the decision?
So there was a line in the play at Beachy Head. He introduces himself as Henry, and he says, "I come here every night after work." And the main character says, "Why?" And it was because my son stood there 5 years ago and I wasn't there. And the pub has some good ales. So that was the line. But rightly so, Robbie, who's also a dramaturg, and after talking to some mental health professionals and after having involved our charity partners, we were really rethinking what the focus should be. And that places the focus on Henry's story. And it makes it too tidy a reason for him to be there.
And also,
Yeah.
also it suggests the only people that can help are people who've experienced it as well.
Yeah. So for the actor, you know the reason you're there, and he just keeps that to himself. Because if you're really trying to help someone, you don't make it about yourself. So if you were in trouble and why would I start talking about myself? I want you to talk about yourself.
Robbie?
Sorry. There's also something about, I think, the kindness for the sake of kindness that I found very moving about that bit. I think so that was part of things.
Yeah. So it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've got time for one more question. Is there a hand in the back as well? Okay.
I suppose my question is, how did it feel performing tonight with people in the audience who knew what was going to happen? Because obviously last night would have been no one has any idea, and tonight you were obviously aware that we knew what was going to happen. How did that feel to have to kind of work with?
It was actually a real comfort because I knew that you would be anticipating. You were. There were moments where we were building up to something, and it's like, it's really nice. No, it was lovely. Yeah, that didn't put me off.
Okay, so I like to end with something that each of you has to answer, and I was torn between, and maybe I'll let you choose, but what would you do on your last day? Maybe not thinking that you're going to take your life, but maybe you've been told the world's ending. What would you do on your last day? So that's one choice. Or, and I do love the idea of gratitude journals, and I do keep a gratitude journal myself. Tell me what you're grateful for.
Oh, crikey.
Grateful for neck oil.
Well, I'm American, so I'm far more sincere.
I'm American. I can be insincere.
I can say I am grateful for smart plays.
Actually, before we move on, Jef, how is it being an American, working in London? Do you find the theatre scene very different here?
Oh yeah.
How so? Is it better? Yeah.
I mean, theaters are in pubs. It's weird. I mean, in America we have Broadway, off-Broadway, and then we have off-Broadway. I guess this is the off-Broadway, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we don't have a pub. So yeah, this is a bit weird. But so much good work gets generated at this level that when I read the play, I thought, okay, I can see where this can go, and I'm really happy to have this sort of warm cocoon of an audience to incubate the beginning of something good.
Fantastic. Ollie?
Oh gosh. I don't know. I mean, the gratefulness. I'm grateful for lots of things. Oh gosh, is it? Oh, guys.
Hurry up.
I know. Oh, I'm. Oh gosh. I mean, I'm going to
Feral
be.
goats.
Yeah, family, friends.
The 3 Fs. Family, friends, and feral goats.
Surely.
Now you know what our rehearsals were like.
Surely you must be grateful to know somebody who would write a part for you.
Well, of course. I mean, yeah, that goes without saying. No. Yeah, I am.
And is he going to write any more parts for you?
Are you going to?
We'll see.
Nick.
I am. Let's do a sincere one then. I'm grateful for the support that we've had in putting this on, and I mean from the team as well as our donors and everyone who has contributed in any way, because we couldn't have done it without any of the people who've helped us. So.
And on that note, actually, I wanted to just shout out wonderful sound design by Frederick Waxman, and thank you to Ryan Mulgrew, your stage management, and they've got lots of clearing up at the end of every performance. So well done. You've got a great team effort, great company here. So audience, you were wonderful too. I'm very grateful for you. Now we need you to be ambassadors for this show and go out and tell everyone we want every performance sold out. It's only here until Saturday. So can you do that for me? And can you get in touch with Robbie about any other producers that'll make this tour happen, because this needs to happen. And finally, to help spread the word about the show, once we give everyone a big clap, we're gonna budge up with Robbie as well. And all of you on social media, get your phones out, take photos, share that, tell people to come. Okay? Got it? Great. Okay, so please join me then in thanking Jef and Ollie and Nick and Robbie and Ryan and Nancy and everybody.